Hi, and welcome to our Facebook and Instagram live session. I'm SJ, and this is Mary Therese Swaby, who is a teacher trainer of many years.
Hello, everyone.
Very experienced. We are going to talk about
Teaching English online.
yes.
Because it's the new thing, isn't it?
It is. Well, it's a thing that everybody wants to get into.
Yeah.
And if you're a teacher who's joining us, welcome, very much welcome.
Absolutely.
Whether you're an experienced teacher who is already teaching online, or a teacher who is looking to get into online teaching, this is a session all about that. So
right.
Would you take us through a little bit about what we're going to talk about today?
Well, I mean, we can talk about all sorts of things, but mostly we'll talk about teaching English online. And we can talk about how to set up, what kind of students you would have, what you need to become an online teacher.
Yeah.
And we can also talk about some methodology, I think, about how you can transfer the skills that you have in a face-to-face classroom, what you do in a face-to-face classroom, how you can use those skills, and what are the similarities and differences between teaching online and teaching in a face-to-face classroom. Because there are some things I think are the same, but I think there are some things that, because of the distance between you, that is a little bit different.
Yes, I imagine so.
Yeah.
We'll also be taking questions from those of you who are joining us. Today, we're actually going out on Facebook and Instagram. So, pick your platform, whatever you're interested in, whichever is comfortable for you. We're going out today on Facebook and Instagram. It's quite exciting, actually. I don't think we've ever done it that way before.
It's great.
So
you were saying maybe the sound is a bit difficult.
Oh, yes.
Do you want to say about that?
So because this is the first time we're doing this, we're not sure how it'll sound on Instagram. So if you're watching us from Instagram, if we're not coming through very clear, be sure to write a comment and let us know. And we've also got two of our colleagues joining us, and they'll be moderating and watching all the comments coming in. And if we are going to share some links, they'll be posting those as well. So don't worry if you've missed it or you're joining us later. It will still be on our walls, certainly on Facebook, and we'll also have all the links up that you can copy and send through.
Yeah.
Oh,
and do you want to talk about badges as well?
Yes, that's what I was getting to. So today we are going to you can get a badge, a digital badge for attending this session. So on your screen right now is the link to the Open Badge Factory. I'm looking down a bit because I'm monitoring on we're actually coming from a laptop as well as various cameras. So there's a lot going on at the moment. So on the screen right now is the link to the Open Badge Factory. Now I'm going to share with you a code which will allow you to download a digital badge for attending this session.
Yeah, I think these things are important to some people because sometimes if you can prove some professional development, people have some people have hours that they have to do at professional development to get a pay rise or something like that sometimes. So I think it's useful.
Okay, so throughout the session, we'll probably be flashing it up. So here's the link to Open Badge Factory, and you're going to need the code for this particular session.
Yeah, so you want to write that down, or
you definitely want to write that down
or something. Yeah.
I can see that we've got quite a number of people joining us.
Oh, great! Look,
here we are.
Somebody from Katya and Katerina.
Yeah.
Tell us where you're from, guys. It'd be really interesting to see, wouldn't it?
Yes,
where
definitely.
You're from. So just send us a message now about. Oh, Glyn Jones. Hi, Glyn. Glyn was on our Future Learn Teaching English Online course, and he's been one of the guys that set up the Facebook page.
Excellent.
Hi, Glyn.
Excellent. Hello, Glyn.
Lovely to see you.
Yes. And also, hello.
Oh, loads of people.
Yes. Good. Top of the morning to you.
Oh,
Jose.
There's an Irish one. Fantastic. And Rodrigo, Ana Vasquez. I think that's a name I recognize as well. Hi, Anna.
We're going to answer questions at the end of the session. So we're going to talk on a little bit more and wait for more people to join us before we start the session properly. If you want your question answered, if you can post it again later when we start asking for questions, we'll try to get to as many questions as we can, but appreciate that we won't be able to get to every single question today. A Basque country.
That's Glyn. He's a teacher in Spain.
Excellent.
In the Basque country.
Hello, Steve from Zalapa, Mexico.
Oh, fabulous.
Hey, one of our somebody from the UK, from Southampton.
Oh yeah, that's good. And some Aki from Tokyo. Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
Genki desu. That's all the Japanese I know.
We have
Fantastic.
Chris,
and from Brazil, Rodrigo.
Chris, who is also teaching English in Thailand.
Wow.
Excellent. And
That's
Brazil,
great.
hello. And India, Buenos Aires.
Oh, it must be really early in
Romania?
the morning in Brazil, mustn't it? Still?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Oh, hello.
And
Wow.
Tunisia, somebody, Manu from Tunisia. Darren. Oh, hi, Darren.
In
Darren
Canterbury.
is a CELTA person. He's a CELTA trainer.
Excellent.
Hi, Darren.
Lots of teachers.
Lovely to see you.
Okay, I'm just
Teacher
going
and
to
teacher trainer. Darren is a teacher trainer.
Gustavo, who works for CLMS.
Okay,
India,
very
Thailand,
good.
Canterbury, KL.
Ooh,
Hello.
from Kuala Lumpur.
Yes.
From your,
I'm not from
your
Kuala,
neck
but
of
my
the-
neck of the woods.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm originally from Singapore,
But not Kuala Lumpur.
but not Kuala Lumpur.
Kuala Lumpur is Malaysia, isn't it?
Malaysia,
Yeah,
yes. Kuala Lumpur is in
Yeah, where are
Malaysia.
you from in Singapore? Oh, look, Elena's in New York. Hi, Elena.
And Maria from Catamarca. I hope I'm pronouncing that.
Oh, goodness.
Argentina.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So where are you from in
In Singapore?
Singapore?
Oh, lots of places. My
Oh.
family moved around a lot. And
Oh,
Singapore
wow.
is very, very small anyway.
Very
So,
hot, isn't it? Very, very hot.
it
I have
is
a
hot
colleague
all
that's
year.
gone out there recently. It's
yeah,
very hot.
it's hot all year round. Okay,
Just
so I think
good
we've
for
got
me.
quite a number
Yeah.
of people who have joined us now from all over the world. So for those of you who just joined us, we are talking about online teaching today.
That's right.
I'm here with Mary-Therese Swaby, who is a very experienced teacher. She's been teaching for what, over 30 years?
Yep.
Yeah, and in the last, how long have you been teaching online actually?
Well, really, only the last few years, I think, because
Yeah.
but as things, as things move on, I
Mhm.
think you need to keep developing new
Right.
skills all the time. And I think technology is so exciting and so important now, and it gives our teaching possibilities that we simply never had before.
Right.
It means that you can. I predominantly am a teacher trainer, so
Mhm.
I do a lot of my online work is with training teachers. But it means I can have a group of students in Malaysia, for example. I did a few training sessions a month or so ago
Mhm.
with a room full of 45 teachers in Malaysia.
Wow.
And so it means that we can take our training and we can take our teaching to places that would never have had any kind of the possibility of training in that way before.
Right.
The expensive thing of having to fly somebody out and
Yeah,
that sort of
yeah,
thing is no longer necessary. So, and I think schools are beginning to latch on to this as well as ways of providing additional classes for students as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So shall we get on with it then?
Yeah,
Right,
let's do it.
Okay,
let's
so
do it,
I
think.
actually have a whole bunch of questions that were sent in before this session came on. So I'll be asking some questions,
Sure,
and we'll also be
sure.
taking
And
some
I'll
questions.
try and answer them, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll be able to answer all, but I'll try.
Okay,
We're getting a message. Sorry, guys. We're looking away to one
Okay.
side because we're getting a message.
we're getting a message.
but we're not
for those of
entirely
you
sure what
who
it is.
are joining us on Instagram, apparently we are having a little trouble sort of responding to you on Instagram.
Okay.
So
Is that what the message was?
yes,
Oh,
I
cool.
believe
Okay.
that is what the message is.
So we can read messages, but we can't reply?
I believe so. Yes, we
Okay.
can read messages, but we can't
Oh, well,
respond
that's a
at the
shame,
moment.
isn't it? But we'll
But
try and
if you
fix
have-
that.
Yeah, we're trying our best to fix that. But if there are any questions that you're asking on Instagram, what our moderators are going to do is they're going to write the questions and they'll bring it around to us, and we'll answer them as quickly as we can.
Fantastic. We're
All
also
right.
on Facebook, everybody. So
Yeah.
you might
So-
find that you want to switch over to that if it's easier.
Yeah, so we're
Sure.
on the Cambridge English teaching site, the Facebook site, and we're also on Instagram. But don't worry if you're not getting an immediate response. So we'll get the questions come through as soon as we can.
On paper.
On paper. Oh my God. How old school. Oh my God. So that's
We're talking about
well, I
online
suppose-
stuff and we're talking about
I know.
messages
So
on
I
paper.
suppose that would be a disadvantage of teaching exclusively online is
Absolutely.
that if the technology fails,
And,
then you have a
and
bit
that's
of an
really
issue.
and truly, it's actually one of the things people always ask me, what do we do if the technology fails? And the answer is you always need to have a backup. You might
Yeah.
be, the platform you might be using fails, but you go to the old cell phone or rearrange things so that you have your lesson on another day perhaps, or or get the student to do something paper-based. But always have a plan B, because technology is often, especially some parts of the world where, you know, links, internet strength, signals are not so good.
That's true.
And that sort of thing. So plan B, always, and be prepared.
Always have a
with
plan
backup.
B.
Absolutely.
Okay. So since we're talking about technology, I'm going to ask you a technology question. So
Yeah.
what sort of equipment do you need to teach online?
Okay, so, well, the basics, in order to teach online, you need a laptop,
Okay.
or a computer, or
Yeah.
a desktop computer.
Yeah.
You need a headset
Right.
with a mic.
Okay.
Why do you need a headset with a mic?
Yes, because I was going to say, we're going out via a laptop. Now, usually I would go out just using the mic on my laptop.
Yeah.
And that seems to be okay.
Okay. So why are we using these
Yes.
mics today?
We're using these mics today is because I've got a separate camera going.
Oh, okay.
And also this room is a bit echoey. So yeah, I suppose.
So
you know.
it's the same sort of thing. That's why I recommend that you invest in a headset with a mic.
Okay.
Because the quality of the mic on a headset is significantly better than the quality of laptop mics.
Okay.
And if you have a headset, you will, and you make sure you get one of those sound reducing headsets. It blocks out the sound in the rest of the room.
Right.
So you can hear your student very much better.
Okay.
And using a mic on the headset means your student can hear you very much better. So you need a laptop, you need a headset with a mic, and you need a good internet connection.
Oh, yes.
And then on top of that, sorry.
I was going to say that's probably quite crucial to any online session is that you have to have a really, really good internet connection.
Well, good, a sort of constant internet connection, really.
Yeah.
And the other thing that you need is a means by which, so you've got your laptop, you've got your mic, but you need a means by which the student can see you, and you can see the student.
Right.
So that requires some kind of video conferencing software. So a platform like, for example, I think everybody knows Skype, don't they?
Yeah.
So Skype is a video conferencing platform. There are others. There are Google has a platform that you can use.
Google Hangouts.
Also, that's right, exactly.
Hangouts?
Google
Right.
Hangouts. There's also Zoom.
Yes, which I'm going to show you now on screen.
So we have this is Zoom. I'm probably going to be thingy and say I have a preference for Zoom.
Okay.
Only because it's really simple to use.
Okay.
And it has the kind of basic features that you need. So it means you can share your screen with students. So it means that you can show the students a text, for example. You can talk through a text, showing the students the same thing that you can see. You can have a questionnaire or a handout. It also has a board where you can write on the board, and you can write, for example, if you're teaching a grammar point, you can show the students the structure, you can mark the pronunciation. And for me, I think it's a very simple tool to use, a very simple platform.
Okay.
There are more complex. It is also free, incidentally, which is a good thing in its favor. So you have at least 45 minutes, I believe, on a one-to-one, on a group situation, and a one-to-one thing. I think is you can have as long as you like. So it's free, it's easy to use, and there are tutorials. We have a tutorial actually from one of our colleagues that worked with us on the FutureLearn,
which I'm going to show you now.
The FutureLearn MOOC, rather. Cecilia Nobre, who does a lot of online teaching, she's made this. It's a kind of tutorial, just pointing out some of the
features.
The features. Thank you. I was looking for that word of Zoom, and which is the platform that she uses all the time. There's Adobe Connect is another platform which I understand is very good. I haven't used it myself because I'm a bit mean and you have to buy Adobe Connect, and so I use Zoom myself. I find it very...
for us, I think we've had a question before where somebody has asked what platform are we streaming our live from, and we actually use BeLive, which is another streaming platform. But I think for us, that's if you use Facebook, and you can stream to a Facebook group, so you can have a small group.
Yeah.
But that kind of, I guess, with the other webinar platforms, you can register people and then
Yeah.
you can keep in contact and all
I mean,
that
the
sort of
thing with
thing.
Zoom is that it's you can have a private space.
Yes.
So it's just you and your student
Yeah.
or students, which I think is
Okay.
is necessary. Really, you don't want to have other people joining into your lessons or stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just looking to see what other comments we've got coming in.
Have we got any questions coming in yet?
Oh, yes, we've had loads. Hang on. Oh, someone
Okay, so
said
somebody's
that.
asking which headset. I don't. I mean, mine actually is quite an ordinary one. I would not. This is Nikki, incidentally. Nikki Wakeling is asking, is there a brand of headset that I'd recommend? I would recommend you do not spend a great deal of money, but if you can get a sound reducing one. So what that means is that when you are wearing it, you don't hear any noise outside. So, you know, if your partner's in the living room playing his music, for example, which is my problem all the time, you don't hear it and your student can't hear it. So I wouldn't spend a great deal of money. They're not very expensive. I think mine was about 15 quid or something. So,
But the thing about yours is that you downloaded some software for it.
Yeah.
That's some very, very, very useful software.
Yeah,
don't
but
you?
that's not to do with teaching online. That's just to do with my rubbish typing. I have a voice recognition thing.
But a voice recognition thing is very good if you have trouble typing.
Yeah, sure.
So if you, like me, sometimes have problems with your fingers, have a touch of arthritis, that's not going to stop you from teaching. So you could use a voice recognition software, and that would really be
and actually, I'm a rubbish typer, so I find that you know, if I'm writing something out for a student, for example, I just use the software to do that. It's mine is called Dragon Naturally Speaking. But it's
I've heard about that. That's actually quite good as well.
Okay, let's hit another question.
Okay. Yes, somebody said Darren
Darren's
Bell.
mentioning about Adobe Connect. Lots of people use that. I have, as I said, I haven't used it myself because you have to pay a fee. Zoom is free, Maria Celeste. Zoom is free. You don't need to pay it. You do have to register and open an account, but that just means giving your password, giving your email and creating a password. After that, it's absolutely free.
Yep.
Sherivan is also recommending Zoom. I agree with you. Glyn, hi Glyn, impressed with Zoom. Darren also liked Zoom. Jolly good.
So lots of good.
Let's see if we can hit another question.
Okay. Okay.
Let's see.
Do you also, Chris?
No, you don't need an LMS to teach online. Really and truly, all you need is what I said. You need a platform of some sort. You need Skype. You need Zoom.
Okay. For those of you who don't know what an LMS is, that's Learning Management System.
Yeah. And you don't need that. I mean, you can have one if you want. Google has a lot of attachments that you can use in managing learning system, use as a management learning system, but you don't really need to have it. If I run a coursebook CD on my computer, yes, I mean, this is Borsu who is asked the question. If I run a coursebook CD on my computer and can students hear it spontaneously? Yes. And yes, that's the whole point of having a platform, because something like Zoom, you can play a recording and the students can hear it at the same time as you do. So it can be a recording from a CD from a coursebook, but it can also be something that you've downloaded from the internet. It could be a song. It could be a news item. It could be something live. It could be something that you stream from the BBC.
Wow.
Because you can share your screen, they can see and hear what you see and hear.
Excellent.
Okay, so what else have we got?
I think.
What kind of platform we've said that? We've said it's Zoom. We like Zoom.
All right. So shall we move on? So one of the questions that we've had before is, what kinds of teaching do people do online?
Okay, so I guess this means what kind of students do you teach?
Yes.
And there are all walks of life, and you can teach kids, you can teach adults, you can teach business. A lot of online teaching, I think, is targeted towards businessmen and businesswomen who like the kind of flexibility that online teaching gives, in that if you have you can teach them while they're actually in company. You can teach them at home. You can answer questions when they're maybe attending a conference and they need English. You can prep them particularly, perhaps for something that they have to do in English. Maybe they have to give a paper, and it means that you can prepare them specifically for that event.
Oh, that's great.
So, I think business people find online teaching really useful, but I think the big market nowadays is kids. It is huge, absolutely huge. People teaching kids, not just one-to-one, but teaching groups of kids as well. Right. I saw a demo lesson the other day of a teacher actually it was almost like the teacher was on the screen in the classroom, and the kids were in class. There were like maybe 30 kids in class with the teacher, and they were all sitting looking at the screen and being taught on the screen by someone who was the teacher was not obviously, I don't know, she didn't seem to be speaking English at all in the lesson. So she was there sort of keeping control of the students, and the person teaching them was the person on the screen. It was kind of weird, but that was...
So I guess you could have, so in a school, you could have a local teacher who is teaching a different subject.
Exactly.
But then you can bring in a specialist to do specialist teaching, and you don't have to actually fly them from a different country or anything. You can sort of stream them in, as it were. So it's a live situation.
And this is happening a great deal all over the place. China is very, very big with teaching kids.
Yes, I'm sure it is.
And I think that really is if you are setting yourself up now as a teacher online, an online English teacher, I think that's the first decision that you have to make, really. Are you going to set yourself up as a teacher on your own? Are you going to be independent, or are you going to work for a company? And obviously, there are pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages to both of those. If you work for yourself, you can choose when you want to work, you can choose how much you get paid, you can choose who you teach. Whereas if you work for a company, you have the advantage of not having to hunt for students, because they're there, they come on a plate, and you're paid you do a regular number of hours, you're provided with the students, you're often provided with all of the materials. So often you don't have to prepare anything, you just do. They send you the materials in advance, you look through them, and then you just present the lesson.
So I guess that brings us to a question that was asked very early on, which let's see if I can find it. But basically the question was, can you make a viable living teaching online?
People do. Absolutely. Yeah,
well, I suppose that's a really tough question.
I mean, Cecilia, for example, who we talked about a bit earlier, that's what she does for a living. She teaches English online.
So it can be a
and
viable...
she has set herself up, and she has a website. I mean, I think if you want to make a business out of it, this is a question from Nikki again, is it? Yeah. If you want to set yourself up as an independent teacher, you need to go about it systematically. You can't just sit there and expect people to turn up. So you need to create your own website, for example. So there are some very simple tools. For example, Weebly. I've made a website for a course that I presented recently on Weebly, and I was able to upload photos, and I was able to make a place where the people could download their assignments and all of that sort of thing. There's also Edmodo, which is I think it's a great website for that, for not necessarily for promoting yourself, but for communicating with students. But Weebly, I think the WebEx is another website for creating your own website. But you need to sell yourself. So you need to, if you have a speciality, I think that's a really good thing. So, if you have a background in business, and you want to teach business people, then, get a niche market. If you have a background in law, or a background in I don't know, teaching another subject perhaps, then I think if you can combine that and create a kind of niche for yourself, you need to make yourself different in some way to the hundreds of other people who are doing the same thing as you are.
There is a very interesting question here, which is
this from Jesus?
Yes.
Okay,
if I'm on the run and they need some help, what is the best way to help a student? I mean, is there an app for mobile or iPad? That is a good question. So Is that so?
Well, Zoom you can have on any device. You can have Zoom on your iPhone or your ordinary Android phone, or you can put it up on your laptop. So the same thing applies. Once you download there are also some good chat apps, I think, that
yes,
you can
I was going to
use.
say.
For example, Skype has a conferencing chat tool. I use Slack, which I find as because it's easy and it's free. Slack is a chatting tool. So if you're on the run, as Jesus says, and you want just conversation, just chat, it's very simple and easy to download.
Would you recommend starting like a small WhatsApp group for a particular
Great
group of
idea.
students?
Great idea.
Yeah,
Very
if you have
good
a small
idea,
WhatsApp
absolutely.
group, then you'll be able to answer questions, and
Yeah.
of course, other members of the group will be able
Yeah.
to answer those questions too, and be
Yeah.
able to
Yeah,
see
and you can
those
upload
directly.
documents. So if
Yeah.
you want students to read a text or something in preparation for a lesson, you can upload documents. You can upload photos. You can even upload bits of video or audio recording.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yep.
Great
So
idea.
it's one of those
Yeah,
things.
definitely.
There was a.
If
Now,
you
I'm
work
gonna
with
talk
a group
about-
of students online,
Yes.
how do you do pair work activities?
Yes. So
Okay,
now
so-
we're moving into talking about the actual bits and bobs. How do you transfer in-class skills
Yeah.
into an online environment?
Okay, so some of the platforms, including Zoom, have a tool which allows you a feature.
Right.
It reminded me of the right word earlier on. Have a feature called breakout rooms.
Yes.
So what it
Right.
means is that you can pair students in different rooms on the same platform.
All right.
So-
So they're like virtual rooms.
Exactly,
So you can
exactly.
allocate people into
Exactly,
different
and
groups.
you can listen to each pair as they're
Right.
working. So you can dip into one and then come out and dip into another one. And that's a really useful tool. It can be groups or it can be pairs.
Okay. So that's a really good question.
Those are breakout rooms. Zoom has them.
WebEx definitely has them.
Yeah.
I know WebEx
Yeah.
definitely has
Yeah.
them. Now, for those of you who've just joined us, I'm here with Mary Therese Swaby.
Hello again, everyone.
And she is a teacher trainer, very experienced teacher trainer, and we're talking about teaching online. Now, you may have missed this at the beginning, so I'm just going to scroll up here, which is basically you can get an open badge. So you can get a digital badge for attending this session. So here is the website that's currently on your screen right now. So you should be able, for those of you who are watching on Instagram, we will put up the link within the comments or on our wall so that you'll be able to see it. Basically, you go to Open Badge Factory, and this is the code that you're going to need to download the badge for attending this session. Okay?
I just, because I'm noticing that the time has kind of been zapping
Yes,
by.
I know. But
yeah.
we can probably go on for a little bit longer than
Sure.
that. So we're probably
I
going for a
just
little
wanted
bit
to
longer.
talk a little bit about we've talked a lot about the technology and so on.
Yep.
But
we have.
and I'd quite like to just to talk a little bit about the teaching.
Yes.
Because I've noticed and heard in conversations a lot
Yes.
with people that because it's online, we don't need to plan anything or we don't need to prepare anything. We just go and I contact my student and I talk to them and they talk to me, and then that's the end of the lesson, and they give me money for this. I especially those of us who have training. Who are trained English language teachers, I'd like to just, as a teacher trainer, say that I think we should make sure that we take the principles that we use in the classroom and the methodologies that we use in the classroom online. So if you're doing a reading lesson, have the students read the text. Perhaps they'll read it at home. That's actually one of the advantages of online teaching, is that you don't need to sit and watch somebody read.
Yes.
But give them a task. Give them the text. Give them a task with the text.
Yeah.
And then use the online session for language work, for maybe other reading tasks, or maybe getting a speaking task that will come out of it. And if you're going to do a speaking task, retain your principles. Make sure that you have a really good aim, a really good objective, and that you've planned what you hope the students will be able to do at the end of the lesson that they didn't know at the beginning of the lesson. So not just chatting.
Yeah.
Use all of the methodology, all of the principles that you know, checking understanding, dealing with pronunciation, making sure if you do a speaking lesson that you have some error correction and that you give your students some feedback on the language and on the content of what they're saying. Maybe get them to do a speaking activity, give them a bit of feedback, and then the same speaking activity again, so that you can increase their confidence. That's it. I'm off my soapbox now, everybody.
No, but that's a really, really good thing to keep in mind, because, you as a teacher, your duty is to your students.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
they're going in expecting to learn something.
Yeah. And the thing is, students will always be happy with speaking. But I think that, and a lot of us, we spend a lot of years being trained and doing qualifications and all sorts of stuff.
Yes.
And then we go and we do chatting. But let's not do chatting. Let's prepare our lessons really carefully. And it's hard, especially when you're teaching one-to-one. And somebody asked a question on there just now about teaching groups. And it is very difficult to control groups. And but again, the platforms will help you. Because, for example, on Zoom, there are you put your hand up. There's a sort of feature where when you want to speak, you put your hand up. So as the teacher, you would control that. You would say, if you want to speak, put your hand up, or you would, as you would in an ordinary face-to-face classroom, you would nominate individuals to speak, and everybody would take their turn. So group teaching is possible. But again, preparation is absolutely vital.
We are going to have to wrap up, because we're
I've talked too much, haven't I?
No, not at all, not at all. From judging by the number of comments and questions we've had, everyone's really interested in what you've got to say.
Absolutely.
I'm afraid we have actually genuinely run out of time. I have seen that people have asked about the badge, the digital badge. It is in the comments, so we'll put it up again. But if you look through the comments, it's definitely on there. We'll pin the badge as well as the code for the badge, as well as the website at the end of this session.
And there's still a few days left.
Yes.
If anybody would like to do the Teaching English Online MOOC that we talked about right at the beginning, Cambridge English, and in partnership with FutureLearn on that platform.
Yes.
There's still a few days left. I noticed that we have some attenders to this chatting that did the course. So I hope that you would recommend it.
I was going to say, somebody did ask, where can I get live demos and stuff like that? The FutureLearn course.
Absolutely.
There will be demos on the FutureLearn course.
Yeah.
And it's actually a Cambridge English course. FutureLearn is just the platform on which that we're doing. So
we'll put the link up to that as well.
I believe that the link
is up there
already, or it will go up online
very quickly. You need to at least, if you want to do it, you need to at least register very soon, because I think the course will be closing soon. But as long as you've registered, you then have 6 weeks after that to complete the course.
I've just been handed a bunch of questions which we didn't get a chance to answer. And this is from our Instagram viewers, so we're just going to run through them quite quickly.
Okay, what's the most challenging thing about online teaching? Maintaining motivation, I think, and both for the student and for the teacher. Keeping the person, it's a long time to have to concentrate, actually, even if you only have a half an hour lesson, because it's just you and them, and trying to bridge that distance as well. I think doing things like, at the beginning of the lesson, chatting, I know I said about not chatting, but I mean, try and develop some kind of rapport, some kind of relationship with the student, ask them how they're doing, seem to care. If they say next week, I'm going to the cinema with my mother, then the next time you see them, say, how was the film? How was you? It's just kind of not like normal stuff, really.
You do care. You do care. It's just it's kind of.
But it is a lot more intense. But it's a lot more intense because it's there and it's in your face for the whole time.
Yeah. What's the best way of approaching the FCE certification?
Do a course.
Do a course.
Do a course, I guess. Do an FCE course and then sign up with the school. And enter the exam. That one's easy.
What are the obstacles while teaching online in school? We're not really sure how to interpret that one.
Sure
but
obstacles while teaching online in
school. The only obstacle I think of is that the school won't allow particular platforms. For example, I know that a lot of teachers can't access Facebook, for example, as online.
Yeah.
So we won't be able to use that. So it's
No.
just knowing which platforms are allowed and which
Yes,
aren't.
yes. And
Also-
actually, with the whole thing, you need to consider security issues as
Yeah,
well, I think.
definitely
generally.
security
Yeah,
issues,
yeah,
particularly with children,
absolutely.
if you're teaching children as
Yes,
well. I think
absolutely.
that's
And
quite a
make
big
sure
thing.
you've got parents' permission
Yeah,
and so on.
definitely.
Anything like that. Okay, that's great. Shall we finish now then?
One last
Oh,
question.
one last question.
We'll ask,
How to teach grammar? Oh, I can't do that in 5 seconds. How can you teach grammar so learners find it interesting? Context. Number one is context. Teaching grammar through context. Either have a reading text, tell the students, if you, for example, you're teaching past tenses, tell the students, your student or students a story about you and in your past, something that happened to you. Present language in context. Context is king.
we would definitely, that is like a whole area by itself. And we
Sure.
certainly would be able to do a session based on that. So if you let us know if you'd like us to do a session on that,
Sure.
it's something that we could plan in the future. And we can do a session
that'd be
on
fun.
grammar or how to teach grammar online. That's that's a tricky
Scary
one, isn't it?
dudes. Scary
Yeah, that's a
dudes.
tricky one.
Yeah.
We do apologize for any sound issues on Instagram, as it is our first live session. So I'm getting.
We'll try to
Yes,
fix
I
it for
have-
next time. I
Yeah,
guess.
we
This
will
is
definitely look into it.
we've
for
been
next
sent
time.
a little apology note
Yes,
to read out
because
to you.
because we can't actually hear what's going on Instagram, so we've got our moderator who's actually monitoring it. So unfortunately, we are sorry for any sound issues on Instagram. We'll definitely try and fix it for next time.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid
I've
that's
had a
all.
great time.
So have I. This has been a really great session, and I hope that you all have been enjoying it and have got as much out of it
Yeah.
as we have had.
Yeah.
You know,
Lovely
putting
to
it
see you
down.
guys.
Yeah, a lovely. Thank you so much for joining us on both Facebook and Instagram, and definitely we will do a session next time.
Great.
Do make sure that you follow us on both Facebook and Instagram for more sessions like this. All right, then. Thanks very much for your comments and your interactions and all of the questions that we've had. They've been really excellent. Thank you so
Totally.
much for joining us here today.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right,
Thanks
then.
for having me. Bye, everyone.
See you again
Bye-bye.
soon. Bye.
Bye.